one of my favorite stories of the day so far is this crackdown on the protesters at Columbia. Now, it can be conflicting. Like, they're like all of their chanting and I 100% support their right to protest. But the problem is they aren't protesting. They're occupying buildings. They're breaking into places. They're, doing all this kind of stuff that is not covered by their First Amendment. And right now, first of all, on Friday, Trump took away $400 million in funding from Columbia University because of allowing this. Now, I don't like it's problem because it's hard for me to support it because they'll say like Trump took away $400 million because they're allowing anti-Semitism on their campus. Now, I don't have any problem with Jewish people, but anti-Semitism is not against the law. And so like it gets a little dicey. If they had said, Columbia is letting them attack other people or infringing on other people's abilities to get the education that they paid for, that's a home run. And I just don't like them couching it in anti-Semitism. But on Friday or over the weekend, one of the leaders of this, these dorks got deported. So they're like, oh, well, you're here on a student visa. You're riling things up. You're causing trouble. Go go back to Palestine. That's exactly what they did do. By the way, I 100% support it, but I'm also curious what you two think about that. Like, I don't care because he's here on a student visa. They have to follow a different set of laws than he's not an American citizen. He's not protected by the First Amendment, as far as I know. I could be wrong about that, but I don't think they are. And so they have to live to a higher standard, and they don't get to rabble rouse and tell people to occupy buildings and all this kind of stuff. What do you make of these deportations now for these radicals basically who are using a bunch of overweight white women to antagonize and cause damage on campuses and things like that?
I support the deportations of these individuals, especially in that particular incidence. But in general, if you come to a country, when in Rome, live as the Romans do. That's literally all you have to do. Show respect for the culture and show that there's a reason why you should be allowed in, because you actually do have respect for it and actually cherish it. That's what I think.
What do you think, Hannah Claire?
I think the deportations are good generally. I mean, this was one of the sob stories that the media tried to pull out when this was happening in the spring of 2024, before that summer recess that kind of paused a lot of the protests. There was another student, I believe, also from Columbia who, because he was facing expulsion or did get expelled by Columbia for his involvement in the protests, he lost his student visa. And when he didn't have a student visa, he had to get deported.
Go home. Yeah.
This makes sense. I think the right to protest is good. I think that's a form of free expression, but it's not without consequences, right? Like there are always consequences to your actions, even if you are legally allowed to make them. No one is saying they get to protest just because forever and do whatever they want because they're here. The story that came out this week with Muhammad Khil, he was like the student negotiator. He was brokering for students. That one is weird. Again, I think probably he should get deported. I think probably this makes sense. I'm with you on the because it's part of compliance with this anti-Semitism order from Trump. That one always freaks me out because I remember that anti-Semitism law that almost got passed in Congress, and the language is just so broad.
Yeah,
interpreted to be like restrictive of Bible quotes. There is something to be very careful of, and I don't think just being like, oh, well, it's anti-Semitism, so therefore it can't happen. Like, I worry about that broad brush. With Muhammad Khil, I read this report, and I'm not sure, but it was from AP, saying that he had called his immigration lawyer when the ICE agents arrived at his apartment to arrest him. And the immigration lawyer was like, he's not a student visa. He has a green card. You could still get your green card revoked from what I understand.
Yes,
so it actually matter. But then the other part is like, I guess his wife is an American citizen and is 8 months pregnant. So they're going to
Well,
start
that's
playing this
tough.
like,
He probably should have followed the law then.
he
That's
probably should have thought ahead. Like, I don't know
I
what
don't
to
care.
say. I mean,
Take
I
her
guess
back
this
to
is
Palestine
over
with you, bud.
months ago, but I don't know. It just to me seems like they are going to try and be like Trump is bullying people when really all of the people at Columbia who were demonstrating, who took over that building, decided that their political interests were more important than everybody else on campus.
Right.
That's a decision you made. There's the right to protest. You can do it, but it doesn't mean that you just get to do it without consequence. And unfortunately, this is a consequence that he may be facing. So I think there's already going to be some deception on this particular story. Also, because he's Palestinian, I think people are going to be like, "How could you do this to him?"
It's a death sentence.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
you know, he opted to participate in this, and I assume understood what he was getting into.
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm being corrected. Like the 14th Amendment, I think gives them some protections, but I don't care. Like, you're not an American citizen. You were warned. You were warned. You're here. By the way, most of these, they're not paying for their education either, so they're here getting free college, and most of them. And you were warned to knock it off, and you kept doing it. So you and your 8-month baby, your 8-month pregnant wife, can go back to Palestine. That's what I mean, I don't know what to tell you. Like, I don't care, because there's always going to be an extenuating circumstances with these people, because they're by default generally coming from an area that ain't that great. Like, oh, they're going back to a war zone. Well, I'm sorry, but the rules were clear. Like, I can't. It's like, is it called ipsos facto? Is that what? When you talk about, like, it's after the fact. I mean,
Ex post facto.
Ex post facto. Thank you. If you know that you're leaving a dangerous situation and you're put up in America by American tax dollars in many cases, you should be extra careful. I just don't feel bad for you. You had an 8-month-old pregnant wife. You should have been going to school and going home and not participating in rioting and activism. You're here to be safe. And now you screwed it up, and now you can go home in Palestine and dodge bombs. Great fucking decision making, Muhammad.
You know? I mean, the opposite would be a flamingly gay couple, like a pair of clonal Elton Johns.
Yeah.
And they go to Saudi Arabia, and then they expect not to FAFO, basically.
Right.
It's the same exact idea.
It's so crazy to me that I think, I don't know which one you said it, maybe Hannah Claire, but like this whole, like, they're gonna spin this, and I'm supposed to feel bad for this guy, and I'm the a-hole if I say tough cookies. Bro, we told you don't touch the oven, it's hot, and then you did it anyway, and you're not a 3-year-old. You're a full-grown adult, so you go back. Sorry.
And if your convictions on the subject are so strong, like, you know, I want to be clear, like, just because he's a student, he's here on a green card or student visa, like, he can take part in these things, but there may be consequences.
Jeremy, I'm sorry to interrupt you, Hannah Claire. A lot of people on chat are saying there's a significant amount of lag.
Yeah, that's not me.
Shit the bed.
It's Rumble. Yeah.
Oh, my apologies.
Yeah, it's not me. So it's whatever, you know, hopefully Rumble holds up. There's some sort of bigger wide scale attack today. I suspect we'll find out, you know, later today.
When Rumble has to go live on some other platform because it's under attack.
Well, it's not just Rumble, it's X too. You know, all the free, coincidentally not YouTube.
But not YouTube, right?
Yeah.
Of course not.
Yeah.
Somebody check on Twitch and let me know how that's doing.
That's also fine. We're on Twitch right now.
Interesting. Cool.
Yeah.
Damn, you're still able to use Twitch?
Yeah. It's because it's really because nobody, if anybody, if, you know, very small number of people watch us on Twitch. If we ever got any kind of, you know, big following there, they'd ban us for sure. I'm sorry, what were you saying, Hannah Claire? Do you remember?
Oh, I was just saying that, you know, if his convictions on the Palestine protests and getting Colombia to divest from Israel were so important, like, I would assume that he had a conversation with his wife and was like, I'm going to participate in this. It's really important to me. I am risking my legal status in this country. And his wife would have been like, hey, don't do that. Or
You think
was
a
like,
Muslim?
look, I
You think a
understand.
Muslim asks his wife for permission, Hannah Claire?
Jeremy, he's very progressive. He's a grad student at Columbia. Surely,
Yeah.
surely
Yeah.
he's got Western
I am
values.
100% sure he did not ask her permission to do anything.
Right. And so, like, it's not like he hasn't had time to prepare for this. I mean, I guess they thought maybe Joe Biden would win the election and that they would always have the support that they thought they needed. But, like, it doesn't make sense to me that someone who is, like, married, has a kid, isn't, like, thinking about how this would affect them long term. And if he really didn't know, but he was prepared enough to have his immigration lawyer on the phone when ICE arrived.
Correct.
Surely
Yeah.
this is not that big of a shock.
Yeah, he must have known it was coming.
There are all kinds of people who are like, look, this is my conviction and it's really important and I'm going to stand by it. Like, I'm not going to cry for you over this.
Yeah, I've got to go off for a second. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I just don't care. Like, I don't care if that makes me cold. Like, you knew the rules. You took free education, probably free room and board, probably free food, right? Am I supposed to believe a Palestinian refugee has $80,000 a year to pay for college at Columbia? There's no way. So, like, I don't know what to say other than you knew the rules. There are 100 million other people that would love the opportunity to come to the United States and get a free Ivy League education, who will not riot and who will not cause violent demonstrations.
Right.
And so,
I also don't think this was.
I don't see Ukrainian refugees doing this. I'm just saying.
I also don't think it was the only option. Like, if you're from Palestine, you feel really strongly that Israel is harming civilians, whatever else, like, totally fine. Your point of view, I get that, but, like, taking over the quad at Columbia and then taking over the building, like, that wasn't the only way to express your frustration or to, campaign for support or help. There were all kinds of people that were fundraising, that were giving speeches, that were holding like there are tons and tons of options. It's not like he was like, well, this was the only option I had to express my frustration. Like, you could write strongly worded letters to the board of Columbia and not participate in this specific protest.
Yeah.
I understand your right to choose, but, like, don't sell me this like it was the only option you had. Your back was against the wall and, like, your sense of nationality or whatever was on the line. Like, that's not it at all.
By the way,
part of this.
And student visas are not meant to, import protesters. It's supposed to be giving an opportunity for people that wouldn't get that same opportunity anywhere else. And so it's not in the spirit of the student visa. And quite frankly, I think a lot of these woke universities are bringing these people in to radicalize. They come here and they radicalize Americans who then go on to ruin their lives.
Well, this is why it really frustrated me. And this is a long time ago, and he's totally changed his stance on it since. But I think this was in 2019. Charlie Kirk tweeted something like, everyone who graduates from an American university should have a green card stapled to their diploma. Again, he's changed his mind since.
Yeah.
But I just so fundamentally disagree with this, because that is not how the student visa system works. They're not, like, recruiting people to come be in America, to live by American values, do whatever. It's a temporary visa so that you can have access to our education system. And for the most part, the expectation when it all started was that you would then go back to your country, which gets this economic benefit of having.
Yes.
Right. And so, like, why it would be an expectation that you get to stay forever, or that you don't, like, you have some sort of loophole to American laws, or that we owe this to you, is bizarre to me, especially as you have pointed out that there are probably a lot of other qualified applicants from the same country who didn't get that spot because it went to this guy who was then like, I'm going to gamble and see what happens.
Yeah. FAFO.